some of the developers and the developer staff would say, why are you coming through an agent? If you come to us directly, we will give you the commission.
You were telling me about a case that you had where the buyer, they went to the developer directly to verify things that you or one of your team had already told.
They have reached out to you. They are interested in buying that project. And they say, okay, I'm going to search for this project on the net.
Let's say, for example, an SPA is delayed for 4 months.
How will that sales agent help you in getting that SPA?
He should know everyone in the different departments, finance, customer services. He should know people. He should have enough connections.
There are people in those teams which have been there for a considerable period of time. If you're a nice guy like me, then you will have your inroads. And those inroads are going to facilitate your clients.
Hello everybody, this is another session of the Brick Bus podcast. Very interesting subject today, and this is something that I want Mr. Asim's expert, authentic and sincere opinion on.
All 3 boxes I have to tick.
All 3 boxes you have to tick, because I think it is very important, and this is a subject that needs to be addressed from a broker's point of view, because this is something that I feel brokers face as a challenge on a daily basis. The topic of why property buyers and investors go directly to in a way to say go behind the backs of agents directly to developers. Because I've heard all of these complaints, all of these conversations. So in some cases, there's a way to say that they go behind the back.
Let's have a very candid discussion. Let's have a candid discussion on that. Thank you. First of all, that's a very, very important topic, and I wish Angela would have been here, where she would have had a very fiery response to whatever you have said.
Which is why, let me just, sorry to cut you off, but I want to say, which is why maybe it's a good idea that Angela is not here, because
you need a much more rational and something
yes, I don't want this. I don't want this discussion to be a rant.
No, it's not going to be a rant.
Not Angela. I didn't mean Angela, but like an agent.
Any young agent who's out there.
Yeah.
So let me give you a perspective from my side on this. First of all, let's be very clear about it. Any prospective buyer has the full right to, if they want to invest in Dubai real estate, they have the full authority, the right, the justification to go and do their due diligence on their own part, or from whatever source they can get their hands on. Go to a developer's office, walk in, see their marketing material, whatever they have, go to them, directly select a property, buy it from them. Zero issues in that. I have zero issues. I would not say issue, but my discord comes when you actually take my time, consult me, get me to do all your due diligence, take that complete information, and then bypass me and go to the developer directly, where I have taken you to the developer, showed you that. So not only in the selection of a developer, selection of developer is one criteria, selection of a master community is another criteria, selection of the sub-community is another criteria, selection of that specific unit.
When you say selection, you mean filtering of the right.
Filtering off, doing all the SWOT analysis, doing all the due diligence. Now, selecting of that final unit is in the criteria. Now you've selected a unit, you've selected a developer, you've selected a master community, you've selected a sub-community, you've selected a specific unit out of that. After you have selected that unit, you say, okay, give me 24 hours, let me come back to you. And then you contact developer staff directly, go, buy with them. Majority of the cases, the agents should be protected, and they are protected because they have taken all the information from the buyer, submitted the complete information to the developer, registered their client with the developer. However, in some cases, some of the developers and some of the developer staff would overlook this information and directly deal with the client in order to obtain and secure that sale.
Let me address something else first. We'll get to this,
Okay.
of what happens when they go. I want to ask you what's going on in a buyer's head when they, after getting all of that information, getting all of the hard work done, the tougher part of the search, tougher part of making that decision, getting all of that done, then what makes them think that going to the developer directly is the easier, maybe less expensive, maybe
I think
more convenient way
I
out?
think
Why do you think? Let's assume for a second that this person, this buyer, is not a bad person. Let's just assume that.
nobody is a bad person.
Let's just establish that we're not.
My point is, in this life is also very clear. Nobody is a bad person. It's all about the circumstances that you are faced with, and your behavior under that circumstances would dictate.
That's what I'm saying. Let's establish that there is no ill intent involved.
Yeah, there's no ill intent.
What's going on in people's minds when they go to go pick that option, which they think is it more convenient? Is it cost effective? What is it?
Okay. At times, a buyer would say, okay, if I go with this agent, where do I get do I have to pay him a commission, or is he getting the commission from the developer? If I have to pay him a commission, why don't I save on that commission? One. Second thing, there is, and there was, and there still is a practice in the market that some of the developers and the developer staff would say, why are you coming through a developer? If you come to us directly
Through an agent. Why?
Through an agent, sorry, why are you coming through an agent? If you come to us directly, we will give you the commission as part of as a kickback.
Okay, I've never heard
So-
that before. So
Yeah,
fine. Okay.
It's in the market.
Okay.
Not everybody would like to address that, but this is in the market that some of the people would say, okay, come to us, we would take that amount of money, whatever the commission is, and we will give you the commission. However, at that time, the buyer or the client does not recognize this fact that he cannot get the commission. The reason he cannot get the commission is because the salesperson is not the one who would process the invoice. The invoice is being processed by the backend in the accounts department. Now, the accounts department would ask you for a trade license, for your RERA license, for your broker card, for your TRN number, for your TRN certification. All that will not be with the buyer.
No. So.
In order to process somebody's commission, for example.
Right. Okay. So
In
there
order
is
to-
no streamlined process for them to refund any amount of money to anyone without.
There can never be, because Dubai government has made those systems, processes, procedures so streamlined that until unless you are in the real estate industry, and not only in the industry, but are you a certified organization working under the umbrella of Dubai Land Department, and you are registered in Dubai economy, and you have your real estate agency license, and you have your broker card, you would not be able to obtain any commission.
Right. And you
which is the right way to
and
go
you
about
basically won't be able to transfer any money unless
Exactly.
it's
And at
under
that
the
time-
table.
And at that time, the finance department would tell that, we're sorry, we cannot process this commission.
Right.
Now, the buyer would then go to that salesperson, say, where is my commission? Say, please, I am not denying that we are not giving you commission. Provide us with the documentation, and we'll give the commission to you.
What documentation is that?
The same documentation, like your RERA certification, all that thing. That
Oh, so the buyer now has to be a
now
broker.
the buyer has to be, so now at times it has happened that the same buyer who has ditched the agent in the initial start would go back to them, to the same agency and say, can you please provide me these documentation so I can get my
Right. Wow.
thing? Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing, isn't it?
So that's number two.
That's
Another.
number two. There are only two reasons.
Right.
And then they say, okay, I met somebody and they're offering me a better deal. They're offering me a bigger unit. They're offering me this. They're offering me that. They're offering me something which you did not offer me.
So I'm interested.
Now that if you have not, as an agent, done your due diligence and they go to a developer and the developer offers them something which is better than what you have offered them, then I think the client has the full right to go. And so not everything is tipping towards one side, but it's a balanced thing. So if you have offered as a real estate agency and as a real estate individual, you have offered your client something and they go to the developer's office and the developer says, listen, I can offer you something better. The ethical boundaries of this can be challenged, because I might say, okay, if you had something better to offer to my client, I brought him in, you could have just told me that, Asim, there is a better option available here. Why don't you advise your client accordingly? You could have discussed with me.
Yes
rather
and
than,
no.
Rather
yeah.
than,
Yeah, but if the client comes to them directly, then
Rather than
the onus
approaching
is
your
on
client.
them to.
if the client approaches them directly, perfectly fine. But if you bypass your agency and go to the client directly and say, listen, you've come through this agency, they have offered you this, but come to me directly and I'll
That
offer you a
also
better deal.
happens, yeah.
Then I think that's the ethical boundaries of that can be challenged.
But you can exercise. You can't legislate for that. You can't control that situation
that's what
that much. It's
that's
just too
why I
many
said
people in the market.
ethical boundaries.
Right.
Ethical boundaries.
I'm
not,
interested in the point that you made, that people think that, oh, I might have to pay commission to this agent. So
let's be
I might.
clear.
So that it shows a lack of education. People don't know. So maybe they are not being educated properly by agents. That listen, sir.
Listen, normally in these cases, we are talking about now the primary sales in which the developer pays the agency commission.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping that agency or that agent, if that agent has performed an amazing amount of service for that client, he can always go back to the client and say, listen, I would like to have certain commission from you as well. There is no law against it.
But
there
there's
are two
no
things.
law favoring it either.
Yeah, there's no. So there's a market practice. There's a, for example, you for a ready sale, you take 2% commission. Now, who pays that 2% commission is whether it's paid by the buyer or 1% from the buyer and 1% from the seller, and then so there are regulations, and then there are market practices, market acceptable practices. So what are you debating here is different in different circumstances. At times you ask your client, because I've done this, it helped you in so many things, and I have invested my time and energy into this, I would like to have certain percentage of commission. And if the client is happy, there's nothing stopping them.
This is something that people can ask, agents can ask. It may or may not work. And
It may or may not work.
Chance. But then it does come down to, like, agents should know that when they're dealing in the off-hand market, there's always a concern, there's always a threat of the buyer who they don't really know. Maybe they've spoken to them for a week, and they've known them for a week. They don't really know the person. There's always a threat of that person going this is something I picked on earlier when you were having this conversation. You were telling me about a case that you had where the buyer went to verify. They went to the developer directly to verify things that you or one of your team had already told them.
Yeah. So if
to me, that's I get it. I get that if a buyer doesn't know, they met you, right? They met you last week. You went to a viewing. You showed them all the options.
We showed them all around.
But they're like, okay, you know what? Let me just.
At night, I'll open my laptop. I'll see what this developer and what this project is all about.
Because they're interested.
They're interested. They're certainly interested. They have reached out to you. They are interested in buying that project. They say, okay, since I've reached out to you, I will also
Like to do my own research.
Due diligence, and I will search for this project on the internet, and I will reach out to my developer.
Which, by the way, is perfectly legit. And I understand.
I mean, they should do their due diligence. Nobody is stopping them from doing their due diligence. So, Okay. So when they go out and they talk to their developers and they say, okay, I'm going to search for this project on the net. I'm going to open my web browser and I'm going to search and I'm going to do this blah, blah, blah. They would at times book a Skype meeting or a Zoom meeting or anything, an online meeting with the developer staff just to understand that project. Right? What happens
like
in that
you would
case?
in a, like get a second opinion.
Get a second opinion. But what happens in that case?
I'll tell you, the developer thinks, oh, this buyer came to us directly. Agents, please step aside.
Yes. But that's where the thin line comes.
That's where the disconnect is.
That's where the disconnect is. That, okay, this client now contacted us as well. This client contacted the agent as well. What do we do? So those things are basically dependent on case-to-case basis. There are certain companies, there's no singularity in the industry in that. That varies from case to case and developer to developer, and your relationship with that developer, your relationship with your sales team. So there are a lot of factors which will dictate that.
Okay. Take one side. Does the buyer get a better unit when they go directly to a developer? Take one side. I want all fences out of this conversation. No fence.
No, I would not mince my words on this. I'm being
Does
very
the
clear.
buyer get a better unit?
Not in all cases. And majority of the cases, I would say they're better off dealing with an agency which, like us, is a boutique real estate agency, which would help them in getting not only... So you see, what do you consider the extent of service being offered? Are you as a buyer, you have to dissect this whole case. Are you as an agency clear what are the services that you are offering? One. Number two, is your client 100% assured in whatever services he is being offered by you? Have you briefed him? Listen, you have come to me. What is your expectation from me? Am I supposed to guide you, first of all, on what's happening in Dubai real estate, where Dubai economy is going, where Dubai real estate is going, what's the foreseeable future going to offer you in Dubai, where you need to invest, which area you need to invest, which developer you need to invest in, which project, which master community, which project, what are the features that are going to affect in future. Then are
the process of filtering.
Yeah, are you hand holding him the entire time? Are you capable enough to hand hold him the entire time? If you're not capable, don't curse the system and don't say my buyer left me, because the buyer at times would feel not adequately informed and briefed about what's happening in the service and the nature of service. So it's not a very singular thing to say. It deviates from things. Now, in this case, if you have briefed him entirely and they go to their staff and they go back and they say, yes, I am being completely briefed, then did you go and show them the project, the development, the developer? Did you sit and select the unit with them, the payment plan that is best suited for them? If you have done your due diligence, then don't you think you should be compensated? Why shouldn't you be compensated for that? What's the I would like to understand the counter argument for that. I haven't even till to date had a very intelligent conversation with anybody who would give me a very credible counter argument to this. I'm open to suggestions if
no, but I'll play the devil's advocate here. Okay. I'll just tell you that like you were saying earlier, this is a case-to-case basis. The other party can say, well, show us proof of that you did your due diligence the way you were supposed to. They could go to ridiculous lengths and say, show us your chat conversation, show us your... So this is a debate that will head nowhere, because they'll keep asking you, hey, maybe your buyer came to us because you didn't do your job well. So I don't want to go into who deserves what. I want to go into what to do in that situation. So the way we were talking about, what were we saying? Like the buyer going to the developer directly. Oh, I forgot what.
The buyer going to the developer directly and saying, I would like to buy something in this unit or this project. And
we were talking about, do they get a better unit or not?
No, not in most of the cases.
Describe the two scenarios, most of the cases.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, आइए सर, 2 मिनट बैठिएगा सर प्लीज़. अस्सलाम वालेकुम, कैसे हैं आप? खैरियत? प्लीज़ 2 मिनट बैठिएगा. Okay. So not in majority of the cases they would not get a better unit, because they would not get a better unit because in majority of the cases what you were going and doing for them, and you were looking for a long-term relationship. How many people have you met in a developer's office that are cycled every 3 to 6 months? Do you think your sales agent would be there for a longer period of time? The chances of that person being there are slim. Then the developer's team normally works in a very well-defined silo. So that means a salesperson is not very much in contact with the finance person and the after sales person and the person who does the documentation and the person who does the handovers. So there are different departments because the developer has a massive staff and the developer has a massive team, and because of that their silos have been created, and that works perfectly for them. Do those silos work perfectly for an end user? Depends from developer to developer how well defined, well orchestrated, well preserved and well executed their systems, processes and procedures are.
So
if they are,
so if an SPA, let's say for example, an SPA is delayed for 4 months, are
Okay.
you're suggesting that the buyer...
if you go directly to a developer's team, who's your first and last point of contact, that person you have become best friends with?
The agent who sold you the property.
Sales agent. Okay. How will that sales agent help you in getting that SPA?
I would expect him to help me by, he should know everyone in the different departments, finance or customer services. He should know people. He should have enough connections to sort out my problem, or at least give me a clear answer, a logical answer as to why the SPA has been delayed. That's what I would expect from him or her.
On paper, that looks amazing.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. So what happens?
I mean, he may or he may not have. It's not whether he knows everybody personally. It's not whether he knows somebody. Is he willing and able? Both the things. Does he have the time? Because now, for example, take the example now. A new launch is happening every week. There's a new launch. Do you think that sales staff would have time to leave that sale and to leave the new launch and to leave the new clients that he's getting and run after your SPA?
So that's highly unlikely. Okay.
Exactly.
That's what I want you to say.
Exactly my point.
That it's highly unlikely. It's
that
a lesser bet that this person...
I mean, I wouldn't hold my breath for it.
You wouldn't hold... Yeah, got it. Yeah.
It's highly unlikely that person would say, okay, I'm going to leave the launch for which I am being directed to be available at certain place, but I'm going to go and get your SPA and find out what's happening with your SPA.
Okay.
Whereas you although you are invested in that sale as well,
as an independent agent, but you are liable for that client who has put his trust in you as well. Right.
So that's a one-on-one relation that you have with that person, and that relationship goes before you selected that community or that selected that decision to invest in Dubai, and goes well after sales, when you want to take handover of that property, when you want to lease that property, when you want to resell that property. Who's going to resell that property for you? The developer staff?
Right.
Who's going to get you an NOC from the developer, from the back-end team, when you want to resell that
when you're
property?
on your vacation and you need to need that NOC,
exactly.
you're overseas.
Exactly.
How do you as an independent agent have access in operations, have access in customer services, have access in finance?
Over a period of time, because you have been consistent in being present in the market. You're not. I have been doing this for well over a decade. So I've been in this market well over a decade. I have my inroads in all the developer teams. So I know, first of all, the knowledge base is there. That yes, I know this is being handled by which department. Do I need to go to the customer services? Do I need to go to the finance team? Do I need to go to the handover team? Do I need to go to the leasing team? Which team do I need to approach? And there are people in those teams which have been there for a considerable period of time. And if you have been in this market, and if you've been in this field, and you are an average nice guy like me,
and me,
again debatable. If you're a nice guy like me, then you will have your inroads, and those inroads are going to facilitate your clients.
Good. These were basically all my concerns. That I think we could have another session on this.
Yes,
because
we
this
can
is
have another session on this.
Yeah, we can have a version 2 of this conversation, because
let's do a couple of scenarios. I would suggest let's do a couple of scenarios. Let's dissect this topic in detail.
The best way to do it is to give me examples. You've gone through, your team has gone through such situations.
So next week, let's do a role play in which I become a client, and we'll have Angela and you, and the three of us can
that'll be interesting. Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Hope this conversation was valuable, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thank you very much.